All right, Steve, you're on with Leslie. Go ahead.
Leslie Smith, this is Steve Jewin from MMA Mania, and it's a pleasure to talk to you again today. How are you feeling right now?
I'm doing good. Happy to talk to you again, too. Steve, how are you?
I'm excellent, and I'm very pleased that you won your Bellator debut after our last conversation, but were you surprised that it was a majority decision as opposed to unanimous?
Yeah, I was surprised, but I tend to think that I'm winning fights when I'm in them anyway. So, I mean, when you're inside of the cage, you can really feel somebody else's energy. You feel it going down. You feel, I feel like in a fight, there's this thing where you're kind of a vampire of someone else's energy because there's a transfer of energy going on. And so I know that people outside of the cage can't feel that. And so my reality is a little bit different from their understanding. So they're to be forgiven.
Yeah, I can understand that the judges weren't able to feel that, but I think the viewers at home were able to feel that. I feel like watching the fight, it was pretty clear that you were dominating Sinead Kavanagh.
Thanks. Yeah, I was really surprised that she was avoiding me so much. I really thought, especially after watching her last fight, well, I don't know if it was her last fight, but watching the fight against Arlene Blanco, who I'm about to face, they really stood toe-to-toe with each other in the middle of the cage. And so that's how I was expecting Sinead to come at me, or just to stay there with me. And so when we ended up really with her backpedaling and me pushing her to the outside of the cage the whole time, it was not what I expected, so I had to adjust pretty quickly.
I agree. That wasn't what I expected either, especially with her reputation going in as KO Kavanagh, and as you mentioned, her fight with Anger Fist. You would have thought that would have been a completely different style of fight, but the person coming forward is usually the person winning a fight, so like I said, it was self-evident to me, and a good coincidence, as you said, that you've got a common opponent in Arlene Blanco, so do you think anything that you saw in that fight prepares you for your turn with Blenko?
Well, I'm still waiting for the opponent who's going to stand in the middle of bang with me, because I feel like that's pretty much the fight. That's the kind of fight that I really enjoy. That's the kind of opponent I really enjoy, and I feel like that's the kind of fight that the fans enjoy the most. And so I'm hoping that Arlene is going to be the one who stays up there in the middle of the plate.
It would be hard for her not to. I mean, as much as Sinead Kavanagh had that reputation, I think Arlene's entire career, her bread and butter, is I'm the woman who gets in there and takes a punch to give you a punch. Yeah. So I think that's going to make for an exciting fight on the 8th. Another good coincidence about this fight is you're right back in the same venue in Thackerville.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited. It's always nice to have a little bit of familiarity, and I know some things about the area. I've got an Airbnb set up, which is nice. It's always nice to have a spot a little bit away from the casino to go to. And I know ahead of time not to bring anything into the venue. They wouldn't even let me bring Chapstick. The commission, they wouldn't let me bring Chapstick into the back. It was actually really funny. Carrie Melendez, my teammate, she's been coaching me, training with me. She just won her fight a month ago on October 4th in Temecula, and that was a super exciting fight. But she was standing right next to me, and it was so funny because the commissioner was like, yeah, no, you can't bring that. And it was more than Chapstick. It was Chapstick and mascara. I wanted to look nice after the fight. And I was with him, and I was like, it's makeup. Like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah, no. I thought he was just kidding. And he was like, yeah, no, you can't bring it. And so I was like, huh? And then Terry looked over at that moment, and she was like, oh, do you want me to take that? And I was like, you could try. And so she went through the exact same process and did the exact same look at him and was like, it's makeup. It was pretty funny. But at least now I know.
I'm a little confused after hearing that story. Like, how did Greg Hardy get an inhaler into the cornerman's pocket in the octagon, and yet you weren't allowed to have chapstick and makeup?
Right? No, I don't get it. I've never had a commission really search us that thoroughly before. They went over everything. And yeah, it is pretty funny to think that that guy was able to bring an inhaler in.
Perplexing is the only word I have for it. But hopefully, now that you know that, it's a non-issue going into this fight, because you want to just concentrate on how dangerous and tough an opponent Arlene Blanco is and not have to think about anything else.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about how freaking amazing I am and how great my training camp has been and how wonderful everyone that I've been training with is. I've gotten to, I have other stuff I'm thinking about other than just her. And I feel like that's a problem that sometimes people have, is when they talk about their opponent getting inside of their head, it can change a person's game plan. It's good to be aware of your opponent, their strengths, and to plan on those things and have a good game plan. But for example, if someone's going against a striker, they can't be afraid of the strike. If they're going against a wrestler, they can't back up off the strike so that they can defend the takedown. Somebody still has to be themselves, And so I'm going out there to be myself.
Okay, well, I can't argue with that, because it certainly, A, has worked for you, and B, is more fun to talk about when you're not just singularly focused on your opponent, because you're right, that seems to be sometimes to the detriment of some of the fighters I've interviewed, where, in fact, I've had a couple where all they'll say is, yeah, I'm looking forward to the fight, I'm really looking forward to the fight. It's like, come on, there's more going on in your life than just this.
I'm kind of lucky that some things have happened throughout my career within the past couple of years that have reminded me that I need to not let my identity be completely wrapped up in just the fight. That I'm not just a fighter, I'm also a martial artist. And as a martial artist, I'm learning and growing and developing in lots of other ways. And I feel like that's an important thing. So you're right. A person's got to remember that even if they are 100% dedicated to the fight, which is a beautiful thing, and everybody should be, I mean, it's life or death. You got to take it seriously. But at the same time, there's got to be a healthy balance of remembering that that your life does exist outside of the cage.
When you're not focused 100% and you're able to balance everything, what is your top way to relax, to just not be in that mind state all the time? What do you like to do to get away?
Well, I'm taking classes right now. I am in a program through Rutgers University, through the Labor and Employment Relations program, to get my bachelor's degree, which is pretty exciting. And so I'm taking classes, and that pretty much takes up the majority of my free time. I wouldn't say that that's my relaxing time. I'm probably taking Epsom salt baths or hanging out with my dogs and going for hikes, and I like slacklining. Those are my fun, relaxing things. But I'm pretty excited about having this goal with furthering my education right now. So that's I'm taking 3 classes this semester. And that is definitely the main go-to when I'm not training right now.
If I may be so bold, though, it sounds like those classes could also tie directly back into Project Spearhead and getting that fairness that you've sought for so long in how MMA fighters are treated.
Yes, yeah, you're totally right. I am learning about as much as I can. Rutgers has a great program. The professors there are awesome and renowned and respected in labor. And, I'm learning a whole lot. When I actually, first I went to Rutgers to be part of a panel on labor issues, and one of the people there was, oh gosh, I'm the worst at names. She was super cool. She was the head of the labor board when it was the Clinton administration. She was the head of the National Labor Relations Board. Oh, my gosh, I'm embarrassed. My mind is just not I can't think of it, but she was saying that even if the NLRB route isn't the way to go for it, that legislation probably would be a good thing to do. And so I need to learn. I gotta educate myself on labor legislation and precedents and learn as much as I can so I can make changes in the future.
As far as that goes, I just talked to King Mo earlier today, and one of the things that struck me in the conversation with him was he'd been given all the opportunities he wanted to receive and allowed to do pro wrestling and MMA at the same time. You know, they didn't practice this whole thing that I think both UFC and WWE do of saying you're an independent contractor and yet telling you where to be and when to be and not letting you do anything else.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I really like the way that Bellator gives their fighters the freedom to pursue these other avenues of not just self-expression, but also generating revenue. And that's huge. It's such a big deal to be able to take a fight with, they're doing the cross-promotional stuff with Vision, so to be able to fight in another promotion. My teammate again, Carrie Melendez, she fought for Glory in a cross-promotional event between Glory and Bellator, and that was super cool. And those are the kinds of opportunities that not only enhance the fighter's life and reputation and help them earn some money, but they're also good for the promotion. Like, I don't understand why people don't want that. If there's a promotion and they've got a fighter who's this world-renowned kickboxer, for them to be like, hey, no, we don't want you to kickbox anymore. You're just only going to fight MMA. Well, I feel like that's really limiting the amount of eyes that person's going to be able to bring in. It's so much more interesting for someone to be kickboxing and then the announcer's like, and they fight MMA. You can watch them on this promotion, blah, blah, blah. Or vice versa. Either way, I feel like there's just so many more opportunities when the power over an athlete's career is, I don't want to say completely relinquished, because definitely the contracts are still, there's still, the promoter needs to protect their interests, I guess. But to give the athlete more options, that just creates a more well-rounded athlete for the promotion.
Perfect example of that when you talk about the cross-promotion is something that happened just over the past weekend with Jake Hager having a fight at Bellator 232, and just a few days before, he had been on All Elite Wrestling as part of the Inner Circle, and then consequently all the Inner Circle guys were at Cageside for his fight. Now, the fight didn't go the way anybody wanted, but just think of all the opportunities that viewers shift from one to the other when you can do things like that. Yeah.
It's super cool, and it's fun, and it's life-enhancing. It gets everybody excited and gets them to come out and look at things from a different perspective, gets people interested in a different sport. And that's part of the cool thing about having athletes who are charismatic and are willing to put themselves out there. To be entertainers, really, competitors and entertainers, it's a very fine line, because when a person's willing to be a competitor, they're willing to stand up in front of everybody, and they know that all those eyes are going to be on them, and they're okay with that. And that's the same thing about entertainers, is that they're searching for that. They want those eyes on them. And that's what really pulls in fans. That's what draws the crowds and these fan bases that are going to follow somebody and be die hard and follow them wherever they go.
Well, I think you've definitely got those die-hard fans, Leslie. I've been one of them since I've been following you, going all the way back to Invicta, following you through all the way to being now in Bellator, and I know I'm not alone in that, so I'm telling all your fans right now who are listening to this interview, if you miss this fight with Arlene Blanco on November 8th, you're missing something truly special. I know you two are going to have a fantastic fight.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. She is an accomplished MMA fighter. This is going to be her 20th fight, just like it's my 20th fight. We're actually pretty close in the records, and so I think it's going to be a really exciting. People are going to get to watch two seasoned veterans going at it.
Do you think the winner of this fight could be somebody next in line for the winner of the Julia Budd Chris Cyborg fight? Do you feel you're in that position?
Absolutely. That is definitely what I'm looking at this fight. In my mind, this is the fight for number one contender.
Well, then there is absolutely no reason for people to not expect you to be at your supreme fighting abilities, because you're not going to let that opportunity slip away.
Nope, you are totally right. It has been a long time since I've been able to see such a clear path to a title shot. And I'm definitely on that path right now. Going to seize the opportunity.
Okay, well then, the only other thing I can say to wrap this up is, as always, Leslie, please promote, plug, shout out anything that you'd like, and I want to give you the floor to do that right now.
Oh, I just want to mention how wonderful my coaching and teammates have been. I'm at El Nino Training Center in San Francisco, and Gilbert Melendez has been super awesome about helping me prepare for this fight. Jairo Escobar, he's a great boxing coach. Daniel Kim has been helping out quite a bit too. Moses Baca has always been in my corner. Terry Melendez is not just a great fighter, she's a great coach too. And I also get the privilege of going out and working with Cesar Gracie, who's got great academies in Pleasant Hill, one out here in San Francisco. And one of my favorite instructors out there, Sean Nickmerod, and then my friend Mateos Andre. He's been around, and he's a Cesar Gracie black belt as well. And so I'm just really grateful for this team of awesome people that I get to work with.
And I'm really grateful for the fact that Scott Coker is a perfect link between all of these things, because from the days that I went to cover Strikeforce shows to the days I cover Bellator shows now, it's always been Gilbert Melendez, Scott Coker, and now you. So I feel like there's a perfect line connecting all of these things together.
Yay. That wraps it up nicely, I think.
Yes, it does. Leslie, thank you so much for the time, and have a great fight on the 8th.
Thank you. You too.
All right, and thank you, Dan, as well.
All right, Steve. Thanks a lot.